Oh my god, there's a spider. Okay, Mr. Spider, it's your death day. I think he's gone round enough. Now that the spider's gone, we can get on with this video. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new around here, hello, welcome, my name is Charlotte. Today's video is one that I never thought that I would actually do, but I eventually decided, screw it, I'll do it, because it just means I just get to talk about all the books that are on my physical TBR. So welcome to my physical TBR video. I don't have as many as some people do. It's still quite a bit. I think for an average person who's not a booktuber and is not a book lover, this is still quite a lot. I have 39 books on my physical TBR. I'm going to be going through all of them. I'm obviously not going to talk about them in depth because obviously I haven't read them, and this video would be very long. I will be doing them in page count order because unlike anybody else in this whole entire world, that is how I organise my books on my physical TBR. Without further ado, let's just jump straight into my physical TBR. The first book I just want to talk about and get out of the way because it's in a different section on my bookshelves. It's in the section of these are the books I'm reading next, and that is The Girl on the Train, because I'm literally going to be reading this after I finish reading the book that I'm reading now. So that's just on the top of this bookshelf. Also, the reason why I'm down here is because my physical TBR shelf is down here. Like, here's my bed, here's my bedside table, and like my bookshelf is down there. So that's why we're down here. It's why we're in a different background. Excuse me if it's a little bit chaotic behind. We're going to jump into the actual like in order, page count order books now. The first one I have is Soundless by Rochelle Mead. I've known and heard about this book for quite some time now. I haven't got around to reading it, but it's a hardback cover. It's the only one on my physical TBR that's hardback. I've heard bad things, but we'll see. The next book is Normal People by Sally Rooney. Hasn't been on my TBR for that long. The next one is This Song Will Save Your Life by Layla Sales. This has been on my TBR for the longest. Literally the one that's been on my TBR for the longest. This has been on my TBR for 3 years. I haven't read it yet. And I will. Like, you could say that I won't, but I think I will. It's one of these ones that I will eventually get around to reading. I know I will. The next is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. I've been meaning to read some of Neil Gaiman's books, so I saw this in a charity shop and picked it up. Then you have The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I got this for university and never actually got around to reading it, so I wanted to. I still want to read this book, so it's on my TBR. The next is The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. I've read the synopsis of this and it sounds very interesting, very Get Out-esque. Hello, editing Charlotte here. I only noticed this. Okay, just look at my head right now. But I only noticed what I said when I was going back over. I'd edited this whole thing and then I only just realised it now. I didn't mean to say Get Out, I meant to say Us, the other Jordan Peele film. And I'm very sorry, Jordan Peele, that I'm mixing up your films. I meant to say Us. It's the second film, because that's what it reminds me of, sorry. But then I've also heard bad things, or like seen that it's one of the lowest rated on my Goodreads TBR, like my big Goodreads TBR. Then we have How to Stop Time by Matt Haig. This is my most recent purchase, and I will be talking about this in my October wrap up, so stay tuned for that. But yes, this is my most recent purchase, and it's the most recent book to come into my TBR. The next is 10 Blind Dates by Ashley Elston. I bought this for a special video, but then never actually got around to doing that video, but it will be going into another video at some point, hopefully soon. The next is The Boy Who Followed His Father into Auschwitz by Jeremy Dronfield. This is one that my mum has read and just gave to me because she thinks I will enjoy it. The next is Station at 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. Once again, one that I've been meaning to read for a while and bought in a charity shop. Then we have Vicious by V.E. Schwab, one that again I've been meaning to read since I started watching BookTube and never have, and I'm kind of intimidated and kind of nervous too, but I'm also excited. So hopefully one day I will. Then you have The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. That's how I think it's pronounced, I'm not sure. This is a thriller that I've heard a lot about and seen a lot about around on BookTube, but also have heard mixed things, but we'll see how it goes. Then you have The Duff by Cody Keplinger. I've been meaning to read this for so long and just bought it because I know I need to read it so I can watch the film. Then you have The Wife Between Us by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. Just another thriller that I want to read because I like adult thrillers. Then you have Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. Again, another thriller that I've been meaning to read and a thriller author that I've been meaning to read from. Then we have The Black Kids by Christina Hammonds Reed, which once again I've been seeing on BookTube recently because this is more of a new release and I really want to get around to reading this soon. I'm very excited and very intrigued to jump into this book. It sounds so good. I just really want to read it. I feel like I want to read it soon, but I don't know if I will. But hopefully I will. I don't know. Then we have Wonder Woman Warbringer by Leigh Bardugo. I love Leigh Bardugo and I really like her writing. So apart from Ninth House, it's the only book of hers that I haven't read yet. So I just bought it just to kind of complete the collection. Then we have Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. This is one that is both popular on BookTube and off of BookTube, and is one that I've kind of been a bit cautious about because I don't know if people outside of BookTube are just hyping it up and it's just actually not that good, but I have heard people like Connor just kind of talk about it and say it's actually really good, so I'm intrigued but also a little bit intimidated by this one. Then we have The Guest List by Lucy Foley, which is one, again, it's been talked about a lot on BookTube and just sounds right up my alley, so hopefully one day we'll get around to it. Then we had The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which once again, I sound like a broken record, but is one that I've been meaning to read for so long and eventually one day will. Then we have Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I've read a Celeste Ng book before and really enjoyed it, so this is, I feel like, one of her more popular ones, so I definitely want to get around to reading this, so maybe I can also watch the TV show after I have. Then we have The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, which is a kind of sci-fi book that I've heard a good few things on BookTube, especially from Monica over on Mooney Reads. She loves this book and I really want to read it soon, or I say soon to all of these books. I will read it, just I don't know when. Then we have Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. When it comes to Stephen King books, I do enjoy them and I have read a few. I just don't like to pay full price for Stephen King books and prefer to get them in charity shops just because I don't really want to be giving him my money. He's rich as it is and he's as famous as he is, and some of his books, even though he wrote them like years ago, can be a little bit outdated, a little bit wrong in places. He's not like a picture perfect author, so if I am going to read his books, I'm going to get them from charity shops. So this is just one I saw in a charity shop and saw, oh, Stephen King, I'll pick it up. Then we have The Librarian of Auschwitz by Antonio Iturbe. I think that's how you pronounce the last name. Once again, it's one that my mum has read and just gave it to me. She does like to read a lot of like World War II, Holocaust sort of books, and she knows I enjoy those ones and like to read those ones as well, so she just passed it along to me. Then we have If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, which is one that I've been wanting to and been meaning to read since I got it in like March, but I haven't, and I'm kicking myself every time that I never do, because I kind of have a system with my TBR and how I read my books, and I could go into that in another video. I feel it's just never kind of cropped up, and I know I need to read it. Like Shannon is probably like screaming at her screen right now if she's watching this video, but like, Charlotte, you need to read it. Like I know, I just haven't got around to it yet. I will, I swear. And then we have It's Kind of a Funny Story by Ned Vizzini. I've heard a lot about this book and just really been intrigued by this book because it's a teen mental health book. The author himself wrote this book because he has suffered and has dealt very severely with really bad mental health issues. Unfortunately, the author did commit suicide later on in his life, but I'm just really intrigued to see, I'm really interested to see how this book is written and how impactful it is, and if it's, not that it's true because obviously I can't vouch for everybody's experiences, but just to see what impact and just what this story is, I think is what I'm trying to say. Then we have The Woman in the Window by AJ Finn. I bought this because I wanted to read it before the film came out, but it was meant to come out sometime this year, but of course with everything with the coronavirus it got postponed, so I never actually got around to reading it. I will do one day because again it's just like another adult thriller, but I feel like I've heard dodgy stuff about AJ Finn in the sense that he's kind of lied about some stuff that you're like, why would you lie about that? I don't know if he's lied about having cancer or something, and when people do that, I'm just like, are you okay? I think I bought this in a charity shop, so at least I'm not properly giving him my money, but I will go into this and read it and be like, well I know the author's a bit weirdo. Then we have Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Page. I feel like out of all the books on my TBR, this is the one that if I was to unhaul any books on this, I feel like it would be this one because I just don't know if I actually want to read it. Once again, I picked it up in a charity shop, but it's just one of those books that I've known about for ages and wanted to read it back in the day. As my years have progressed on BookTube, and as obviously I've got older, I've taken some of the books that have been on my TBR for the longest and I've gone like, will I actually read that? And this is one of them. Like I just picked it up being like, oh, it's one I know I've been wanting to read since I was like 15. I think if I ever do an unhaul of my physical TBR, this might be one of them because I just don't know if I care too much, but I'll keep it on here and just see if it kind of crops up in a TBR at some point. Then we have Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. If you know the story of this one, I did try and start reading this earlier in the year, or kind of during summer, but because of my life I was not in the right mindset to be reading this, and because it is a high fantasy and it's got footnotes and it's very deep and you've got to be really concentrating to really get a grasp on the story and what's going on, I just put it down. I will get back into reading this at some point, and I really do want to because it was gifted to me by Andrew. But just for now, it's gone back in my physical TBR, but I will hopefully get around to it at some point. Then we have Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter. This is again one of my mum's books. She has read a lot of Karen Slaughter's books, and I knew about Karen Slaughter before she kind of started going around on BookTube, and some people like Elias and Emma, I think, started reading her books and kind of talking about her books because my mum had read them. So I was like, okay, I should probably maybe try and give some of her books a go. She's just apparently a very good thriller writer and writes gory thrillers, so I love that. My mum enjoys her books, so hopefully I will. Then we have More Than This by Patrick Ness. I've read the Chaos Walking trilogy by Patrick Ness, and what's the other one? The one that's like about the other people. The rest of us just live here. I've read that one, and I just picked this up again in a charity shop, just being like, oh, it's Patrick Ness. But once again, it's probably one that if I'm going to unhaul anything on here, it's going to be this one, because it's been years since I got it and I haven't read it yet, and I've kind of lost interest, and I've kind of gone like, what even is this book about? But I also feel like this is a book that a lot of people like out of his books. Then you have The Shadow Year by Hannah Ritual, I think. Once again, a book that my mum has read and given to me. This is a trend. Majority of the books that my mum gives to me to read, I haven't read yet. And that's not anything against my mum, it's just I obviously prioritise the book that I buy for myself. For this, I don't know if or when I will get around to reading this. I don't really know too much about it. I think it's about some friends that go to like an abandoned cottage or something like that in the 80s, which sounds interesting, and my mum was like, yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. Then we have New Moon by Stephanie Meyer. I am rereading the Twilight Saga very, very gradually, and obviously this is the next one I need to read. Then we have The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter. Kind of goes along with pieces of her. My mum gave it to me, and it's Karen Slaughter, and it's probably a gory thriller. Then we have The Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. This is one of those books that, again, I've seen a lot on BookTube, and I don't know if I've heard mixed. It's either mixed things or that it's taken people a long time to read, but they do enjoy it. I've also heard a lot of people say that it gets them really confused because they get it mixed up with The Seven Husbands, because you've got The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and then you've got The Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I am very intrigued by this one because it's one of those like, this person keeps dying. That's all I know. So I'm acting as if I'm excited by the premise when I don't actually know that much. Then we have Children of Blood and Bone by Tommy Adeyemi. I've had this on my TBR for a while and just haven't got around to picking it up. And I feel more recently, or over the past couple of years, I've heard more mixed things about it. So I'm going to be cautious. A bit more like, will I like it, will I won't like it when I go into it. But I am interested, and it's just a fantasy, West African inspired fantasy. I will get around to it one day. Then we've got The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. I think this, alongside Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, is one of the books on my TBR that I know I need to read because everyone and their mum has read it and everyone and their mum likes it and loves it. I remember this book from when I was in like year 6, so I would have been like 11, and I remember a girl in my class reading it and being like, oh my gosh, she's so cool because she's reading such a big book. I need to read it. I think I'm just intimidated by it because it's so hyped and because so many people love it. But hopefully once I do get around to reading it, it kind of maybe might do a special video for it, but that'll be quite a bit down the line. Hopefully when I do get around to reading it, I will like it. That's all I care about. I just want to be able to like it. It would suck if I kind of came out of it and was like, no, because it's been on my TBR for this long. And the final book that is on my physical TBR, which is the biggest, is Eclipse by Stephanie Meyer. Really easy one to end on is the third book in the Twilight Saga, which I'm rereading slowly. I just need to get Breaking Dawn. I'm getting these in charity shops because I don't want to give my full money to these books, the series, and especially as they're rereads, I need to find Breaking Dawn in paperback in a charity shop at some point, and maybe the other small ones, maybe like Life and Death, and what's the other one, like the small novella, I forgot what it's called. So those are all the books on my physical TBR. I feel like for some people, as I said, it is a lot smaller, but I do know some people who have the same amount of books on their physical TBR as me. Let me know in the comments below how many books are on your physical TBR. Are there less than mine and you're like, oh my god, 39 books are so many? Or do you have a lot more and you're like, 39, you got nothing on me. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're new around here, do not forget to subscribe, turn my notification bell on so you know when I'm next going to post. All my social media links are in the description below. And with that all said and done, I will see you all in my next video.